Hey, this is a Gray Bearded Ninja. So part 2 of this video, we're going to be lighting our homemade fire starter patches. Basically, these were 2x2 gauze pads. We dipped them into the wax. So basically, I just used wax melts. Had a whole bunch of them in the cabinet, and so it smells really good in the house right now because I melted just a pan full of wax melts. And the idea, what we're trying to do here is create patches that we can carry in our kits. And they're not pretty, they're not super fancy like the round ones or anything. And in fact, they're kind of, crooked, and that's good. We want there to be some misshapenness to it so we can actually light it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to, in my trusty fire lab here, you kind of clear the area. We will go ahead and light this. Let's see what it does. Well, the idea is obviously the 2x2 gauze pad would burn pretty fast and not really give us a sustainable flame when we're trying to start a fire. However, dipping it in wax and letting it solidify, we're hoping that we're creating something like a candle to where we let this burn, and we kind of just try to get an idea of how long it will burn. This is just one 2x2 gauze patch with one dip in the wax, and then we just let it sit. In fact, I threw these in the freezer just to kind of get them to harden up a little bit. What I'm noticing is it is burning. It is keeping a sustainable flame. It's not burning up super fast, which is the point of doing this. The idea is, instead of going out and spending a whole bunch of money on commercial grade products, you can make your own on the fly. So having gauze pads, obviously you should have first aid medical supplies at home and in your travel kit. But also everybody seems to have wax melts, the little scented wax melts that you put in the wax melt burners. Well, I had a whole bunch of them that just kind of flavors or whatever that I didn't really care for individually. And so basically I just melted all of them in a pan, in my trusty wax pan here. And I just use the same pan over and over. That way I don't get in trouble for destroying too many kitchen utensils and making this stuff. But basically, this is a very sustainable flame. It's, under normal circumstances, taking a 2x2 gauze pad and lighting it on fire would already be burned up and it would already be gone. Which doesn't really help us when we need a sustainable flame, an extended amount of time, to where we can dry the brush and the tinder that we put on top of this if it's wet, or we just need, maybe it's a little bit bigger and we need that sustainable flame to be able to get and ignite the rest of the materials that I'm putting onto my emergency survival fire, or even just a regular campfire. So I have to say I am very impressed. There is charring that's happening. However, for the most part, it's not really burning up. It's just burning, but it's burning the wax probably more than it is the actual gauze pad. I know at some point this is going to consume the wax and obviously consume the gauze pad, but as you can see, just dipping a gauze pad into the melted wax has created an amazing homemade fire starter. Again, these are just little 2x2 squares that are dipped in wax. And yeah, we can make them pretty and we can make sure they look square or whatever. We can cut them into circles. Not really necessary, in my opinion. I'm not looking for aesthetically pleasing products. I'm looking for functional products, things that work. It is still burning. To be honest with you, I'm very impressed with how this has worked out. It's made a great fire starter, and it's putting off a lot of flame and heat. So let's put it out, and then we'll pick it up and I'll show you. After all that burning that's been going on, we still have the majority of our 2x2 gauze pad. It's not all burned up. Yeah, it's charred. You can see the charring on this side. But just in general, it's not burned up. The gauze pad is pretty much still intact. So it looks to me like it could have burned for several minutes more. I may have to do a timed burn on one of these just to find out and get an average. Try it several times and just kind of measure the time of these. But I bet you could probably get a good 5 minutes out of one 2x2 gauze pad of sustainable flame. Now, at a minimum, now you take several of these and you put them, in your fire pit, and voila, you've got a good fire going. So the idea is sustainable flame. We're not looking, there's lots of things that will burn, but they burn quickly and they burn out too quickly. We're looking to create things that will actually, it's a little warm, that actually will last for a while. And that way it gives us time to get our fire started, get that, maybe the tinder that you're using is wet. So we want that heat and that extended flame to dry that stuff out, that material, combustible materials out, to get your tinder started. Then you can start adding branches and limbs and whatnot. So this is a Gray Bearded Ninja. This is another experiment that I would consider to be very successful. Hopefully this gives you some ideas and some inspiration. We'll see you soon.